Today's episode is the first of two episodes highlighting an important nonprofit organization that is future-focused. One I've had the privilege of watching grow over the past several years. It's an organization dedicated to exploring one of the most important intersections shaping our future: technology, entertainment, and the law. For more than a decade, the Los Angeles Intellectual Property Law Association, yes, that's a mouthful, better known as LAIPLA, has produced TechTainment, a conference that consistently stays ahead of the curve. Long before artificial intelligence became the subject of daily headlines, TechTainment was bringing together leaders in technology, entertainment, business, and the legal profession to discuss the issues that would ultimately reshape all of our industries. Today, TechTainment has become one of the country's premier forums for examining not only emerging technologies, but also the legal, ethical, and business challenges that accompany them. Since partnering with the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University, the conference has found a fitting home at ASU's California Center in downtown Los Angeles, right in the heart of the entertainment industry. This year's conference takes place on Friday, October 16th, 2026, and once again features an outstanding lineup of keynote speakers and panelists from across technology, entertainment, academia, and the legal profession. Among this year's keynote speakers is David Alpert, CEO and co-founder of Skybound Entertainment, whose creator-first approach has transformed comics, television, film, games, and digital media into globally recognized franchises. But what has always made TechTainment unique isn't simply its ability to predict what's coming next. It's its willingness to tackle difficult conversations before they become mainstream. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, the podcast spotlighting nonprofits and social enterprises with budgets under $10 million. My name is Dr. Laura Scherck Wittcoff, and I'm excited to be your host. We bring you the lesser-told stories of organizations that are bold, passionate, and making a real impact. Perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. Small and Gutsy is more than a podcast. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've recently been ranked number 8 on FeedSpot's top 30 social impact podcasts and number 3 and number 9 by Million Podcasts for the top 30 volunteer podcasts and for our youth empowerment episodes, respectively. We're proud of these honors, but honestly prouder still of our mission to elevate the visibility of small but mighty change makers. Do you happen to know a nonprofit or social enterprise doing incredible work? Please send them our way to laura@smallandgutsy.org. So this year's conference at TechTainment examines some of today's most pressing issues surrounding artificial intelligence, from the growing wave of litigation involving AI companies, copyright disputes between creators and AI developers, and questions of liability to the global race for AI leadership. The program also continues TechTainment's long tradition of serving the broader public by addressing issues that affect entrepreneurs, artists, educators, and small businesses, not just for lawyers. Panels this year will explore whether AI is helping women overcome long-standing barriers in technology and entertainment leadership, how artificial intelligence may change mediation and alternative dispute resolution, practical guidance for businesses selecting AI tools that actually fit their organizations, and one topic that has become increasingly important throughout the legal profession: civility. In fact, I'll have the privilege and opportunity to participate on that panel myself, joined by the Dean of Washington University School of Law and one of Southern California's leading legal ethics experts. We'll discuss why professionalism and civility matter more now than ever as AI transforms how lawyers practice law. Another significant development this year comes from the State Bar of California. Beginning April 1st, 2026, every California attorney must annually affirm a civility oath, pledging to conduct themselves with dignity, courtesy, and integrity. It's a recognition that technology may change how we work, and I love this, but professionalism and ethical conduct remain essential to maintaining public trust in the legal system. I think as an organization development consultant myself, working with an array of businesses, this topic is both timely and needed. Thank you, TechTainment, for doing this. We'll talk about how TechTainment continues to anticipate legal and technological developments before they dominate the headlines, why ethical leadership is becoming increasingly important in the age of artificial intelligence, and what attendees can expect from this year's conference. Whether you're a creator, entrepreneur, lawyer, educator, technologist, business owner, or simply someone curious about how AI is reshaping our world, this conversation and this conference offer valuable insight into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Woof, mouthful. Joining me today are two guests, and the first is the individual whose vision made all of this possible. 12 years ago, Mark Treitel, a senior intellectual property and technology litigator with Quinn Emanuel, recognized that no conference was seriously addressing the intersection of technology, entertainment, and the law. Rather than waiting for someone else to fill that gap, he's a change maker. He created TechTainment under the auspices of LAIPLA. What began as a small gathering of a handful of speakers has evolved into a full-day conference featuring more than 30 speakers and attracting nearly 200 attendees from across the country. Mark joined me on the podcast last year, and the response from our listeners was really tremendous. And I'd like to think maybe Small and Gutsy might have had something to do with the attendance, but I don't know for sure. Since then, TechTainment has selected Small and Gutsy, we're truly privileged, as its official podcast partner for this year's conference, making today's conversation even more meaningful. So thank you. My second guest, Konrad Trope, comes from a family boasting 8 attorneys whose legal careers date back as early as 1954, when his father, Eugene Trope, and his uncle, Sorrel Trope, founded the law firm Trope and Trope. Indeed, over the next 75 years, the law firm Trope and Trope has represented some of Hollywood's most illustrious names, including Cary Grant, Alan Ladd, Nicole Kidman, and Nick Cassavetes. Thus, following in his father's footsteps, Konrad has focused his practice of the past 40 years on entertainment and intellectual property litigation. And by the way, he has generously donated much of his time to create the Small and Gutsy, I can't register trademark. I almost forgot the word. Whoa. Therefore, fate played its inevitable part in Konrad being introduced to Mark Treitel and the TechTainment conference in September of 2022. After Konrad successfully organized and chaired a panel on ethics in the age of digital media at the 7th annual TechTainment conference, Mark Treitel asked Konrad to serve as co-chair of TechTainment in January of 2023. Over the next 3 years, with Mark's encouragement, Konrad has carved out a niche in attracting panelists and keynote speakers who are defining the ever-changing boundaries of artificial intelligence. I'm truly grateful to you both. So let's get started. Mark, welcome back to Small and Gutsy.
It feels like it was yesterday that we were doing this. And
I know.
years
Truly.
goes by very quickly.
I know, it sure does. Although the pressure to put on a conference every year is a lot. And Konrad, it's nice to have you for the first time, but I know you've been in the background for many years. So
we could not do this without Konrad. Just want to say that.
Oh, that's kind and true. And you both have such belief in this conference. You, Mark, from the get-go, and Konrad certainly as he got on board. And I'm just wondering, talk a little bit about that belief. And then we'll go into the conference and the specifics because I just did a little overview. So Mark, you start and then I'll hand it off.
Konrad can jump in. I mean, it's something
Perfect.
Again, had the vision. Again, I could not anticipate what AI would be, but it's obviously, right? The reason why we originally chose entertainment and technology was LA is the capital of entertainment, and it was really kind of growing technology. And obviously, technology has overwhelmed entertainment. We've seen the largest transformation, the biggest transformations over the last few years, obviously, as we went to streaming, and now with AI. And not only that, we've seen the largest transformation in the legal profession with technology. And I think even within this last year, there has been ups and downs. And what we are seeing really is the technology and how AI interacts with every single attorney, from the solo practitioner to the large firm, to courts, to the law students. It is shaping, and we need to educate the current practitioners and future law students, because one of our main things of our organization and the conference is educating law students and the general public about where we are and where we are going.
It's such a good point because we don't know what we don't know. And
Right.
Until we are exposed to some of the issues that come up, we're unable to, I think, probably both navigate, but also to understand when it's really important to get the help that we need, whether we're in the legal profession and need guidance and support, or whether we're outside of it and need to really know what the options are. So I'm really grateful that this conference creates that forum.
And this is example, I mean, there's been a million news articles about and my colleagues also tell me this, is that lawyers now spend more time because their clients are now using ChatGPT to find legal issues and then waste the lawyer's time by asking them things that aren't going to happen because everyone's now feels they're an expert. So what we're
Right. That's
trying to
funny.
do is create, where is reality? What do we actually need to do? How can we use these tools? And these are great tools, but they are still only tools. They are to assist the lawyer and make the lawyer better. But we need smart lawyers to know how to use these tools and how to access the technology, but still be ethical.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Konrad, you're on. Tell us a little bit.
First off, 3.5 years ago, Mark and I were putting together programming, and one of our LAIPLA's officers, complained, "You've got too much AI programming here." And I'm like, well, that's kind of where the tech and entertainment world is going. Mark looked and said, full speed ahead, because Mark already had a 7-year track of predicting trends. And here we are 3.5 years later, and my inbox of alerts is everything AI except the occasional Strait of Hormuz thing.
Yeah.
So it really, to be constantly looking at the future, but at the same time saying, wait a minute, is this technology improving the quality of life? If it's not, then you've got to look at it more closely or look at it with a balanced approach. Computers are in our lives, but there's positives and risks every
Right.
day.
All the
And
time.
yeah,
Yep.
it was great for that computer. I could communicate with my client in New York. On the other hand, get a client that says they got scammed out of $1 million.
Right. That's such a good point. And I also feel like there now have been AI conferences that have popped up everywhere. So you really have to pick and choose the conference that is going to fit your needs. And I love the fact that you've brought these three areas together and then include academia as part of it, because not only do you want to educate, but you also want to teach people when they need to access help rather than try to do it themselves. Someone created a picture for me the other day that included somebody who wasn't ever there. I'm not savvy enough to be able to tell. I'm like, oh, was
Right.
this person there with you? And they said no. And I thought, oh my, this is amazing. But it's exactly what happens in the entertainment world. We see it all the time on Instagram.
Again, predicting the future, there was, I can't remember how many years ago, it was a bunch of years ago, and we were talking about how AI is going to be used or how fake photos or digital photos will be used in politics. And it was kind of like science fiction at that point. Like now all these things are released and we actually don't know. But I was going to say, sometimes people go on a limb and they're wrong, right? So I remember there was a time we were doing the virtual reality and the whole thing with Facebook when it became that, like that didn't work. So,
Right.
we're willing to go and learn about something new. But obviously where we are now, we know the technology. We're also doing actually 2 additional panels, which is just recent development in the IP and entertainment law, because we're still focused on that. And additionally, how AI is influencing intellectual property. And I also want to stress that ASU, they are our sister partner organization in this, and we can't do this event without them. They've been able to help us grow, and we're indebted to them. And they're also then helping shape, because they have law students that are backbone of our program, because we have law students that come and volunteer. And
great.
they're learning and they're helping moderate panels. They're helping plan the panels. This is important, right? Like I have access and Konrad has access to, there's a million MCLE programs. What we are trying to do is not just do to the large firms. We're trying to, again, to get to the solo practitioners, the small firms, really, and also the law students.
Right. It's great. So everyone gets the continuing education who needs it when they attend. It's a one-day conference, which I also give you credit for.
Here, I'm pointing to it right here. Friday, October 16th, 2026.
I love that. Yeah.
Downtown ASU. And I got to plug this. The website, laipla.net/TechTainment. And TechTainment is
That's great.
technology.
I love it. It's a great
And
name,
now I was so
actually.
happy. I was so happy. What I say, when you Google TechTainment in the AI version of Google, we come up first. So we're just like, I was so
Yay.
pleased with that.
It only cost me $10,000 to get that together.
I love it. But I think that for it to be a one-day conference is easy for someone to give up that time for something so powerful. So I just encourage people. I was at that conference last year. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be on a panel this year. I'm really excited about the introduction of the whole concept of civility, having consulted to attorneys, but also the whole idea of taking an oath and that you're committed to that. And yet some of the headbutting that occurs, that there's, there can be a win-win, but sometimes lawyers don't believe in win-win. Some, not all. You guys are an exception.
It was Konrad who suggested that we should move it from Thursdays to Fridays so that people can fly in for the weekend. You want to come in, you could fly in and you can attend the conference and then enjoy the wonderful October weather in Los Angeles.
Right. I think it's such a great idea.
It's also cheaper airfares on Saturdays. So a lot of government officials said to me, make it on Friday so we can come in Thursday night, which is also apparently a lower airfare rate. And then it drops even further on Saturday. So I was like, okay, whatever gets the government to show up and participate in this.
And talking about prices, one thing is that we offered multiple differential pricing. One is, again, for in-house attorneys and for law students, I don't have it in front of me, but it's the least amount. Then we have, if you've joined as a member or ASU alumni, they also get discounted pricing. And then if you didn't, you got a little higher. But we also introduced early bird. So it's like, I don't know when you're going to be hearing this video, but go right now and register. You'll get better
do it
pricing.
Today.
The last minute. Yes.
Do it today. It will be out before the early bird, which I think is the end of August, right?
The end of August.
And so we'll have this out. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to point out something. You talk about the involvement of Small and Gutsy and ASU. Slightly misrepresenting a record, you've actually been at the last 4 conferences.
Oh.
In different capacities.
We're tracking you.
Well, I'm just saying, so she has seen the growth, the development, and if you want to call it the preemptive panels that 3 years ago was like, what are you guys talking about now? Here we are. And she's going, you guys sit there with a crystal ball. No, we just sit back and we don't look at traditional sources of conflict. In fact, as litigators, when your clients come in and talk about, they went and scraped my website, you go, wow, what did they do? And so we run to court, we create some new theories of liability. And then that becomes 2 years later commonplace in the language. And with ASU, people have complained about legal education for years. You come from a family of lawyers, I come from a family of lawyers. We used to say if we trained our doctors the way we train our lawyers in terms of throwing them out the door in 3 years with very little cutting edge skill, we'd all die. And so ASU, to its credit, now is integrating into its curriculum realistic litigation courses that are taught by litigators who say, this is a complaint. This is a motion. They don't normally see that in a law school setting. They're also creating courses that say, this is AI, this is what a prompt is, this is how you're going to be expected to write it to the senior partner on your first day in the office. So students don't have to come out knowing how to write a brief, how to do research, but how to create and work with Claude or ChatGPT or maybe a custom program that the firm itself has developed. So you're seeing a confluence at this conference of stuff that most law schools and law firms have yet to pick up on.
I think it's so important as a professor in a graduate class at the policy school at USC. I encourage my students to use ChatGPT in one form or another, but double check your sources. Make sure it's accurate. Use it as, Mark, you said this earlier, a tool. Don't use it instead of. And I think that's key. And Konrad, that's really what you said about taking on a course that, law students may not have exposure in the same way. So I love that you all have taken this conference, and each year it gets deeper and deeper into the subject matter because new issues emerge as a result of technology. And so it isn't just, what we thought of. I'm sure, Mark, when you started this 12 years ago, it has just been, blindsiding in terms of what we could have only imagined that is now commonplace. And it's really can be overwhelming
and where it's going to go. You don't know where we are going to go, but people are also, there's a lot of this, this is what I feel like this year. And I kind of do the introduction at the beginning of the conference and kind of how I'm going to frame it. I'm thinking a lot about this. And this really is the year of, there's the pushback of AI, right? There's a lot of here, what you call AI slop, right? Like we see these amazing videos. There was one with like Tom Cruise and he's fighting, like in a movie. And it's like, it looks brilliant, but people are like, no, that's not good. I want to see real actors, right? I want to see real stories.
Right.
There's been a renaissance. There's one movie I'm going to plug, which is Obsession, which was it was a kind of independent movie. And it was just like people liked it because it was a simple story and it was done well. And people are now going to go see, right, the Christopher Nolan Odyssey. Hopefully by the time this airs and by time of TechTainment, people can actually get tickets to IMAX. Like people want to see good stories, right? This is something that we have talked about before, right? Is a real problem. The companies, right, these giant conglomerates, again, happy for them to sponsor. The giant conglomerates, the problem that they did was by making a movie and you can go see it 3 weeks later and you're home, you're like, why am I spending $100 for my family when it's like taking my time and like being in a movie theater and having people yell and talk, like, I'll just stay home and it'll cost less. And so what companies have to realize in all of this, there's a consequence for all your actions. This technology can become like, we can go get it, but you still have to go down to what is the story. That's kind of also, we're very excited about Skybound speaking, and they are the CEO, because what Skybound has done is take something like these great intellectual property sources and then make great products of them. I could say, I'm a big board game. I'm going to tell the guy, like, I love their stories. They have Invincible, and I bought like the board game. And so there's other ways to explore and create different avenues from your ideas. This is what it is. It's all about the ideas. This goes back, like, I'm an idea person, right? And that's what TechTainment is. I always said, we never want to make this conference bland. Like, I want to go into
Love it.
MCLA and like be interested, be engaged, and come back and learn something new. And not, I've sat through so many MCLEs where I kind of wanted to shoot myself. And I don't want that at our conference. And Konrad is like the most amazing person. He's been able to get these great speakers. We have such a wide diversity of speakers. We actually have a phenomenal amount of wonderful female speakers that Konrad has been getting. We really want to show the diversity again of attorneys throughout Los Angeles. And we want to expand and get the best people. And that's actually why we have you coming to speak. And how about you? You want to talk about your panel for a minute?
Well, I wanted to just go back to something that you said, which a piece that I took away is shortcuts don't work. So learn and understand these tools in a way that we can use them to the benefit, rather than like go back to the story, go back to the issue. What is essentially the problem when someone is having a legal issue? Because oftentimes it's misunderstood or misrepresented because the individual doesn't know. So I think your conference offers, yes, a totally not boring, day. It's phenomenal. In fact, what I've heard when I've been there is people want to go into more than one session and can't because they're at the same time. So This is not a plug for 2 days. I love that it's one day. People come, they get their continuing ed. However, to know that there's more than one session that people want to go into is a huge compliment to your design. And the other thing I want to share that you said earlier is that you involve the ASU students in what is their frontline experience. And I know, Konrad, you teach a class at ASU, so you see this firsthand, and you've had students you've mentored students from there. So you're deeply involved in both the educational aspect, the legal aspect, and, the entertainment aspect by virtue of having, been lawyers in this space for so long, particularly you, Konrad. So I think it's a great merger for the two of you to have worked together and what you've produced. Okay, so if you want me to answer your question, I think Konrad can answer it better. However,
Konrad, Laura's
I'll answer
panel.
slightly differently, as if I was responding to a question at the White House. Won't be direct. Well, I think, Laura, you would agree technology has helped. You now have a very successful podcast. 4 years ago, even though you weren't as highly ranked, you also didn't feel as besieged by internet strangers. I don't want to say it's lacking. Let's just say contacting and soliciting. And as Laura's show has grown in stature, and as our firm has increased her IP portfolio of trademarks, now I'm getting emails in the middle of the night. The government says they're going to strike my trademark, or just send it over. I look at it, I go, this is a scam. And I write the guys, unless you'd like me to send the FBI, don't ever, they're imitating either the government PTO office, or you read a little closer, it's some group out of a questionable neighborhood in Miami trying to scare her to send them thousands of dollars, and only then will her IP portfolio be protected. You wouldn't have had that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, but with
definitely not, for sure. Yeah.
Right, because you have AI that can basically make
they just do
100% fakes.
But you know, absolutely. And I'm so deeply indebted to Konrad for being a friend of Small and Gutsy, a supporter, a sponsor, and doing our, when I have a crisis in my little brain because I don't quite understand something, he's totally there. But I also want to say there are new businesses that get created out of this. So just from the Small and Gutsy perspective, I advertise through my podcast, but I don't really advertise per se. I get solicitations all the time for people who want to be on the podcast. And there's a new business because it's not the organization necessarily that's reaching out. Sometimes it is, because I really focus on the smaller ones, because the bigger ones can hire people, right? And what happens is they have a PR person or somebody who does all the research, finds the nonprofit podcast, and then they're the one reaching out as their assistant to the organization. It's a new business that did not exist years ago. And I find that fascinating. So I'm sure that the two of you who have experienced new businesses from AI, legal, and entertainment, whether it is someone trying to fake something or someone legitimately trying to copyright something or have intellectual property that may be misunderstood as to what it means because maybe AI has been involved in some way. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, and we'll go back to civility.
I guess what I'm getting from you is, yes, our conference is focused on attorneys, but we actually have business owners that want to come and learn about this.
Of course.
You don't have to be an attorney to come to our conference, but we would like all attorneys, to come. But, you really need to be smarter about things. And you need to then, again, it might be a place where you need to then find an attorney. You can come to the conference and then meet other people. There's also a great networking opportunity being on digital. Like, this is great because I would love to be in a room with the two of you, but being in a room with the two of you, this will be, if this was a panel, this would be just so much more dynamic, right? You could see someone. When you have a weekly meeting, you are seeing, first of all, you're seeing the interactions, the social interactions, how they're talking, how people interact. That's how human beings interact. And it's so important to have these conferences where people are interacting and having a chance to speak, because we really don't. Like, most firms, right? Some firms have now required people to go back in the office, but most firms are allowing people to work from home, which is fine. Attorneys would be so happy not to talk to a single human being ever, right? But it's a great thing to actually see people. And I also want to promote, we have great food. You're not going to be hungry if you come to this conference.
You're so funny.
Conferences,
Mark,
like a tip. Like, no, you're going to get food. You get breakfast.
You will.
You get lunch.
And I can vouch for that. And there are tables where you get information. However, I want to get you back to the conference because the
You always have to talk
quality.
about food.
I know you do. Everybody wants to be fed, and that's true. But the quality of the sessions, and the one I'm participating in, is so interesting. And Konrad, if I'm not mistaken, this was your idea. And I loved it because there is now a law in the books as of April 2026. It's a reinforcement law of the oath that it is strongly encouraged, and there has to be training accompanied for, I think, yearly, right, on civility?
You got to complete over 36 months, 2 hours of some sort of training dealing with civility, another 2 hours of dealing with addressing mental health. And as you know, as a consultant to private industry, those issues, the culture of the company and the mental health of your people, the legal profession is the last one to look at these things. As a point, Laura and I did a webinar on mental health issues in the legal profession. She providing, how do you deal with the stress of being told, you need to bill more hours, or you're not home enough to, deal with the family. And then I get up there and say, well, great, you're implementing those things, but let me give you the less interesting stuff, which is the higher suicide rate, higher rates of depression, and so forth. And now, Laura's stepping in to talk about civility, because I think it may seem obtuse, but putting more civility into the profession, I think will improve mental health and
For sure.
well-being of those who are pressing.
Yeah, and because it's a requirement, it's like the shoemaker's shoes. You're the last folks to okay, but yet you're dealing with many cases of people, of organizations being sued by employees who have been mistreated. So there is a very clear rationale and need for civility, not because it's just the ethical, responsible thing to do, but because it actually saves an organization money. You guys are good guys and you're practical. This is a smart thing to be offering. So let's get to the other sessions. I want folks to hear just topics and ideas because they're really so rich. And I think most people who go come away saying, oh, I wanted to go to that session and that session and that session. So that's a good thing.
Well, you can clone yourself and go to both. I'll jump in and Konrad,
There's any technology.
Right. So our main speaker, again, is the CEO of Skybound. So he'll be doing the keynote. So that will be also when you're doing lunch. We're doing 2 panels, one on recent developments of IP and AI. That is literally being formed. We're doing another one, recent developments in IP and entertainment law. We have a secret panel that's being developed this week, but it'll be over time there.
Good.
The other ones have all been done. I mean, we're at the finish line here. We have greenlighting projects in film and television. How has AI impacted the process? That will be actually moderated by Konrad. And one of the speakers will be Craig Wagner from Paradigm Talent Agency.
Great.
I just signed up one of my clients last night to be the third member of that panel.
Fantastic. Good, big breaking news.
Breaking news on the podcast on Small and Gutsy. Okay. And then you have Michelle Echtebaron, who's I had interviewed her for Attorneys in Motion. Her foundation is amazing. And she's, I think, talking about women and underrepresented and underserved populations, female populations, where she has both supported them. I think that's what her topic is about.
It's more the explicit glass ceiling.
She's going to be with Tracy Freed, who has been the panelist for all 12 years. She's been consistent from every year.
It's so great.
She's the GOAT of our conference.
I love it.
We have the civility we talked about. We have a best practices for managing AI data and addressing bias in the prompt design. And we have someone, Rina Yano from Tokyo Broadcasting System, Courtney Collins from Microsoft, Dana Kempler from Lexis, and Ian Freed from DME Law. And we also actually have these other ones. We're having someone from Amazon and someone from Oracle speak. And the last one we have is algorithms and arbitrators, addressing implicit bias and tech-driven mediation. A lot of it about bias because you really actually need those MCLEs. And that's Trisha Schaefer from Trisha Schaefer Dispute Resolution, Mia Creamy Spath, and Mike Murray from Veritex, who I've heard speak and is phenomenal. What we do is we hear someone speak. I'm like, you have to be at our panel. And, we have a large Rolodex, and that's how we brought you in. So here we go.
And I'm actually in a part 2. We're doing a TechTainment part 2, which will follow. And I'm actually interviewing Trisha Schaefer on implicit bias. And I'm so excited. I've met her briefly online. She's phenomenal. And if you think you understand bias, you don't. So she is phenomenal. And I've already done a little research and I'm so excited to interview her and then to, meet her at the conference.
Wonderful. And I did want to actually at least take a second again and thank, by the time this airs, we'll have more sponsors. But I would say as our event has grown, we can't do this without sponsors. So it's okay for me to just mention the sponsors.
Please, absolutely.
Okay. So we have our matrix. We have new names. We were like, we're no longer doing gold, silver, bronze. We're going technology terms. So we have matrix sponsors. And that's firm Trope and Franklin IP Consulting. We have Luminar sponsors, which is Veritex and Washington University Law School. We have Beacon sponsors, which is iDiscover and Nationwide Legal. We have Circuit sponsors, Jeff Kachavin, Commercial Mediation, ArcLight Digital, and Legal People. And also we have LAIPLA Diamond sponsors. And these are the people that helped. Again, LAIPLA is a nonprofit organization. I was president I was on the board. This is how I started getting involved in organizations. LAIPLA can't do our events without them, and they are Judicate West, Petexia, Jams, and Forensis Group. And Forensis Group also, as a shout out, they are also giving additional tickets for law students to come. So, everyone's seeing a place like, hey, how can I help out? It's
I love it.
This event, again, it's for everyone. It's for the in-house. It's for that. But it's so important. It's always been important for LAIPLA, and I'm glad that TechTainment's doing it, to really help out the law students, right?
Mm-hmm. It's really the community. They really get to
network,
network, grow, learn. Yeah, it's wonderful.
And Konrad and I, on our committee, we had a law student that reached out to us, and I was like, yeah, let's bring them in. And they've been helping and coming to our meetings. We're very low key. We're just like, you want to help? Great. We need the help.
I love it. It's so great. So thank you for doing that. I think we have to honor the people who support us. So I think it's great that you shared that. Before we get into our quick and gutsy questions, I'd love to ask each of you, then this may be sort of an aha moment for you, Mark, it could be over the last 12 years. For you, Konrad, over the last, 7, because you presented at the 7th one, but in the last few, like an aha moment that surprised you, maybe one where you thought, wow, we are really onto something, or maybe one that you thought we got to pivot a little bit because this is something we hadn't considered. Any of those aha moments that you want to share? Because in developing something from nothing, which is what you did, there's always those iterative moments. And it's impressive because you're representing an entity that's iterative in and of itself. So it's quite remarkable.
I think the aha moments were, again, we had a speaker and talked about these issues that we're dealing with now. Like, I'm remembering very vividly. We actually is twice. One, we had a professor, this is many years ago, and it was talking about, this was before the 2020 election. What are we going to do in the future when we have a news event and it's going to, a fake thing and it's going to be in the news? Like, that happens literally every day. And I'm thinking about, we had, I think 2-3 years ago, we had a presentation and they showed short little videos and they said, which one is real? And it was different actors or, it was digital.
I remember that actually. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we go now, we have a digital AI person. So one of the things I also did was at the 5th and 10th was asking people to predict what's the future is going to be. Like, when is going to be the first.
That.
Okay. We did that last year too, because that was or maybe 2 years ago. Where are these things going? Because we want to also know where people think things are going. And we've been, everyone's been wrong. People have been wrong again about AI, right? We were looking at it right now and everyone's like, it's going to solve everything. And then you had the pushback this year, which was like, they're spending all this money on these data centers and where's it, coming? That was my aha moment. There was some other cool stuff that I remember. I mean, again, Tracy Fried had done a few years ago about podcasts. That was kind of when it started. There was one where I never even knew. There was one about esports. That was before anything came out. I mean, there's so many different things we had. There was one where we learned about, I don't know if you ever go on Amazon with the QVC, they're on Amazon. That's a business model. There are new business models being created all the time within the entertainment technology space. And again, it's what our lawyers to figure out, hey, how do we protect these things?
That's great. I think those are great. Konrad, what about you? Any aha moments or surprises?
Aha and surprises.
Okay.
3 years ago or 4 years ago, I literally just wrote to Susie Wilson, who was then the general counsel of the U.S. Copyright Office. And we chatted, found out she owned a home a block away from my parents' home. And so she was like, oh, a chance to visit L.A. This was the middle of government shutdown. She said, oh, don't worry, I'll get around it. Great. She comes out, gets up there and says, do you realize we've received 10,000 comments to the proposed regulations about granting copyrights to works that have been varying degrees of AI inputted. And at that time, some guy decided to thumb his nose at the Copyright Office and said, this is 100% AI driven, but I own it and I want you to give it a copyright. It's already gone up to the Supreme Court and they've said, not today. And I'm going, but what's in between? How much is too much AI to get copyrightability? That's
great question.
Up in the air. Then I brought in a client of mine, Jeff Bird, who founded ICM, the Uber talent agency. And Jeff was very candid sanguine. He just said, AI has really bludgeoned the industry into having to rethink its labor allocations, and industry is still recovering. I hate to say it, it's almost a self-inflicted wound. And we've seen in the recent days it's an aha moment in that, in the last 3 months, you've heard of AI or tech companies being held responsible for wrongful deaths. So you got addicted to watching the screens. Wow. And that they had a memo that got into evidence that said they knew what they were doing. I'm going, didn't anyone, I guess they forgot about the cigarette litigation where came out saying we know it causes cancer.
That's a good analogy, actually, a really good one.
So for all the good that the new technology does, part of what Mark and I debate about is we're not here to sanitize the wonders of technology, but to show some of the downside. And in fact, part of what our outreach is going to be focusing on is turning to individuals and startups. I mean, yes, you'd love to grow with clients, just as we've seen your show grow. But do remember, Apple started out in the garage with two guys. And what is it today? Microsoft was Bill Gates saying, Harvard's not doing it for me. Drops out. Where is he? And yet Microsoft had to go through a rough learning process in the courtroom about bundling and creating too much control over its software.
Monopoly. Yeah.
And Apple is fending off liability lawsuits from A to Z. And yet it's kind of humorous as I sit back. Apple's turning around and suing other techs for going after its AI business. And you're just kind of like, okay, like Nicholson in the Laker game, we're just going to sit here and break up popcorn.
Right, and watch what happens. Those are all so poignant. And it's what I said in my opening about TechTainment not being afraid of the tough conversations. And I want to highlight that. Not only will you learn at this conference and be exposed to different panelists, you'll be able to network, good food, as Mark said, get your CEUs. But most importantly, I think you will be able to at least hear, answer, question the tough challenges that this industry as a three-party industry faces.
No, I wanted to bring up, because this is something that's coming up with education, and this is going to be important, I think, to attorneys. And there's been a lot of news articles about this again, right? Like students are now utilizing AI and they're not reading, they're not learning. The thing with law school, for me, even having a Bachelor of Science and going to a good school, was that in law school, you learned how to read and read and read and read. And it was like, it really wasn't until some of the first year, everything clicked. Like all lawyers, right? You're able to read and access and be able to write about it. What AI is doing is summarize it and not learn it. And
taking that privilege away.
This is everyone needs to be able to read and analyze. And if they can't do it, then our civilization's destroyed, right? You can't have attorneys that are going to be like they're going to use AI. They have to be able to understand. I mean, that's why luckily kind of through the training, like lawyers are supposed to read 1 million documents and do all these things. And that's how you understand things and understand concepts and everything, right? So right now, again, and there's technology and these great companies, I mean, these great tools that can take, say you have 1 million documents that you could say, find me the smoking gun, it could find it. But it's the attorneys that have to be like, okay, how do I analyze that argument? And we have to still build those skills, right? I'm not saying you're not going to learn these skills here, but you're going to need to ask these questions. You need to have ethical lawyers. You need to figure these things out. You need to have the pushback and say, wait, why are we, I talked about this last year. Why are we doing this, right? You're going down a path that's going to be problematic, right? We're seeing it right now with some of the leaders in AI, and they're talking about all these other things that AI will be doing for you. But like, if we create a society where you don't have to work, what is that going to be doing, right?
Right.
There's a lot of problems, right? We are seeing the most dystopian, right? We see a lot of dystopian stuff because technology does create it, right? The whole thing of Terminator, of these robots. I mean, we see this now. There was a video, there was an image of these. I joked with my friend years ago that there'll be robot dogs with gun turrets. But like, you actually have that now. Like, this is not our thing, but you're gonna have the military use robots to do that. Like, that'll be fine. Like, again, outside the scope, but I do think about these things about what is the scope? We're gonna have wars that are not the traditional wars because you're gonna have that part.
Right. I think what you're talking about, which I think the conference does, and I want to really strongly state this because it's really kind of the road you were going down, is what is our ethical responsibility to ourselves, to the future generations, and how we want to think about AI. In this context, it's entertainment and law, but it really does boil down to how do we still have an informed and educated population? And so you have the responsibility in putting on this conference to address that, which I think you do. So I really want everyone to come. I want everyone to come because you're going to learn so much. So toward the end of my podcast, as you remember from last year, Mark, this will be really fun again. We'll see if your answers are different. I have a round of quick and gutsy questions. And Mark, you and Konrad will each get an answer, or you can pass if you want to. Are you all ready for the quick and gutsy questions?
Go for it.
Okay, go for it. Here we go. What is at the top of your wish list for TechTainment? However, the answer can't be money or funding. So what's at the top of your wish list?
We want politicians, we want senators, we want Congress people to come and speak at our event. That is our wish list.
Yeah, I get that. That would be so great. And then they'd get a lot of questions like, what's fake news, whatever. It'd be interesting.
Those are important issues. We'd love that.
Yeah, really.
That's our wishes. We can't do it. I mean, this year we know the election, people can never show up. Next year, show up. You're watching this, reach out.
Yeah, because where they stand on an issue about AI is really important because it impacts the legal system, then impacts businesses, which we've talked about. So it's great. Okay, Konrad, what about you?
I would like to see a large increase in what I guess you would call the solo or small entrepreneurs who are just getting started and think, I can't afford a lawyer, so I'll just go and get the book for dummies at Borders. And that's dangerous. Not because those are not good books.
Right.
They should be read so that when the client comes to see us, they're asking really appropriate questions. But the problem becomes that they come in or they think by reading those, they don't need an attorney. And then when they hit a brick wall or they get an injunction against them or they're not able to get the financing they need. So it's like, let's try to catch them now, because this is what you see at a lot of business schools that are doing joint programs with law schools. They're looking at entrepreneurs saying, here are the issues. You don't have to know them all. Just spot them and don't try to solve it all on your own. I'd like to see more of what I call early stage financing companies come to these events and see the plethora of issues that are out there. And when you talk about what AI can do, Mark, I'm throwing this out now so I don't get chewed out later. I'm going to flip in a photo that I did as a joke with a friend that shows me sitting next to Zelensky as he's meeting with Trump. And somebody said, what's this? I said, oh, I didn't tell you, I've been retained. And for about 30 seconds, they bought it. And what did I do? Chat GPT, my phone. I mean, free. I didn't spend a dime. I just took a couple of photographs and said, blend this, please.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened. I told you to a friend of mine. It was very hard to distinguish. Okay, so question number 2. If you were to think of a song that describes TechTainment, or it could be a lyric, what would it be?
You know what, actually interesting? I've been listening to Prince. So I'm going to say again is how we listen to music. And this is now I'm relating back to technology. So this is very entertainment focused. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So saying my age, I used to have records, and then I had cassettes, and then I had CDs, and I had all these collections of music, and I had it on Apple. And then when I upgraded my computer a few years ago, the digital rights management, I lost all of that. I don't have access to it. So now we created this way where like people are purchasing, and how we listen to music and how we appreciate and own things, and how we all grew up, well, all three of us grew up with something you listen to an entire album. Now, I don't know how my children, they listen to music, they know some songs. I don't know how they learn it. Like, how did they actually know something? Because they're not listening to something, they're hearing something on Spotify and in music. And that's what I want to get. It was related to this, but
I love that. That's funny.
And what we're doing, and even with movies, it was like, we used to have, you had Criterion, you had these great laser discs. Now you want a movie, you got to like put it into a search. Well, it's on this system. I have to get another one.
It's on this platform or that platform. Yeah.
And the one thing I definitely hate is like, I hate ads in movies. It's like the worst. It takes me out of it. Here, I'm going back to what I said earlier. Companies have to think about what they are doing. So great, they're making more money, but like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying that thing. Movies were meant, television is a little different, and television is now beyond belief. Movies were meant to be enjoyed in a theater and having that experience. And that's been taken away from us. Maybe Christopher Nolan is going to single-handedly bring us back.
Maybe. So is there
Went off.
so is there a Prince song that would, define techtainment, would you say?
America. I'm listening. America is an amazing song.
Okay, perfect. I love it. Okay, Konrad, what about you?
Two ways to define it. There's a Who song called We Won't Get Fooled Again.
Oh, I love that. That is so perfect. That needs to be a theme
And
song. Okay, and what's the second one?
I actually used lyrics from that in my senior thesis at college because I was comparing and contrasting student revolts around the world in 1968. The party on the left is now the party on the right, but I think techtainment is, we won't get fooled again. Come to techtainment. You will not get fooled again.
Yeah,
Great.
I love that.
Much better answer.
The other one is, and I've told Mark this story, in doing research on a Marilyn Monroe copyright infringement, I do some research, find out that as she got divorced from Arthur Miller, the playwright, he was in Europe, he got served. Imagine being served as you're promoting, a movie. Comes off the plane at LaGuardia, Marilyn's waiting for him, and she goes, "I'm sorry, Arthur, the lawyers made me do it." Oh, I flipped out. And so since then, I tell my clients, I'm an advisor. I don't run your life. You're the CEO of your life. And so to me, part of techtainment, another way of saying it is, the lawyers don't make you do it. You're here to learn and decide and absorb so that when you get competent advice, you can make an informed decision.
Perfect. Perfectly said. So here's my recommendation. Play the Who song at the conference at some point.
We have to get the license rights.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh no,
Okay,
fair
so-
use. It's non-profit.
When we are
Yeah,
big
it's
in
not profit. You're not making a profit. Okay, so
Right.
what makes techtainment gutsy? Because you're gutsy. What makes you guys gutsy?
I think the gutsy is that, again, it's a combination of LAIPLA and ASU. We are not, we are doing a lot with a small amount of people, and we're just like, this is the vision we want to have. Reach out. You want to do it, let's get it done, right? I will tell you, the amount of hours of the 12 years, there were a million times, and every time, and Konrad and I have gone through a lot of trying to, just keep the ball going. I could have just said, you know what, forget it. I could be spending time, either additional billing, I could be going with my family. No, this is what we want to do. We have to persevere. This is the vision. And again, I want to talk about, right? I want to be talking about this in 10 years. I want 20 years. I want techtainment long after past I'm gone. I want it to be something that people are still doing that is large, because there'll always be new technology, right? I want this to continue. That's why we're gutsy.
Yeah, I love it. Konrad, what do you think?
It's one thing when, you watch the Super Bowl and the commercials may seem edgy, but they're not controversial because you want to promote the brand with your product. One of the challenges we face is we can't turn to a corporate sponsor and say, oh no, we would never show the negative side of this technology. I mean, you're going to hear about AI and its impact on wrongful death suits, lawsuits involving Americans with Disabilities Act, if you want to call it degradation of higher education, because students are like, oh, I had my paper drafted. How about the law firms that I don't know how they could allow it to happen, but oh, fake case? Whoops, sorry, Your Honor. Robin Williams might have been able to get away with that, but every lawyer I know has been sanctioned heavily. So the dark side is we'd love to have more corporate sponsorship, but we have to maintain the neutral attitude if we're NPR. Let us see.
It's really a piece of integrity. I think integrity makes you gutsy. So what is something that outsiders or maybe even a few insiders don't know about techtainment?
It's October 16, 2026.
Okay, they might not.
They don't
well,
know yet.
insiders better know that. Maybe outsiders don't know that. Okay,
No,
anything else?
I think it was, I mean, again, I think how people find out information. So most of the people that are going to our conference are people that have attended before. We have a mailing list from LAIPLA. We have a mailing list from ASU. Obviously getting the word out through here. I mean, we're having people contact us now because they're like, I never knew about this. I'm like, it's been out for 12 years. People don't know, right? Attorneys are very busy. So you just have to get the word out, and people, once they attend, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to this every year.
Right. Once they're on, then they know to go every year. So Konrad, what about you? What's something that outsiders or maybe a few insiders don't know about TechTainment?
Believe it or not, I'm going to paraphrase what you said to me either last year or 2 years ago. My God, I didn't realize you guys covered all this stuff.
Okay.
And, or I think the guest you brought was
Blown away.
His eyes were popping open about, I need to talk to these people.
Right.
And
He might want to come again this year too. We'll see. He loved it. He
You're on the
loved
VIP.
it.
As Marcus said, we've all gone to conferences. In fact, when I go to conferences, other speakers that we know each other, we wink. I try to do original stuff at each conference. The name of this attorney shall remain sealed, but he literally uses the same slides at each roadshow. And I'm going, great. No wonder you're able to still get your work done.
Right. You're never recreating. You're doing the same thing.
Right.
Ugh.
So good for him. But I can tell you, we don't replay anything. Everything is, original. In fact, Mark will tell you that there are times when somebody has tried to recycle an outline that they used in the previous year, or, hey, you used that at another conference. No, it's got to be new, fresh, so that the product is truly stale date, whatever it is. It's only good for 72 hours.
But you know what's so great about that, Konrad, is that then people get to come back every year because not only does it thematically change, but even if you have a similar or the same speaker, their topic or their deeper dive is different than the year before. So I love that. I don't know that outsiders really know that. So I think that's great. Last question. If you could get a celebrity or influencer to talk about TechTainment.
I have one ready. We're trying to get Justine Bateman, who is an actress, used to be head of SAG. I don't really have any, I just reached out to her on LinkedIn or I found her email. That's who I want. I wanted to come speak. So if you're hearing this, still an open invitation to come speak. Well, one, she was on Family Ties. That's one thing. No,
Yeah.
The reason is she is so adamant against what AI is doing to the industry. She has very strong opinions. I love to hear that, right? Love to hear why, right? What's this doing? And she was very influential during the strike and negotiation.
Yeah, the writer's strike. Yeah. She would be terrific. It would be great. So keep reaching out. That's great. Konrad, what about you? I think it'd be great.
I've got two celebrities in mind. The first one would be Sam Larston from Law and Order.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Because
people think he's a lawyer. That's why.
Well, yes, but it's also just the idea that this is a guy whose character and performance for 20 years has crossed the boundaries of both ethics as a lawyer, because those issues come up in the show, and his conflicts as a human being. I mean, his character has a reputation for having liaisons with a lot of the junior assistant district attorneys that have come through the office, but also the fact that he could talk about how technology has influenced the show over 20 years. And he's just extremely articulate. He's got a very commanding presence. Who else? William Shatner.
No, he'd be great too.
The original Star Trek, because I could see him sitting there going,
yeah,
Spock, my shit. We need to get those guys at TechTainment to fix it.
Yeah, that's right.
Something
he
that.
was always so future focused because that was always his character. I think that's so funny
right.
Most of the time.
So get him on and say, gosh, I walk around and I feel like I'm back on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I want to take a moment, and before I thank you both for being here, do another plug. When's the date, Mark? When should people sign up?
The date of our conference is TechTainment 2026. It's Friday, October 16th, 2026.
ASU California campus, downtown LA.
the website to go, and then you can learn out about it. And then there's a link to purchase tickets. www.laipla.net/TechTainment. TechTainment.
I will have that in the show notes also. But I just want to take a minute and just thank you both for this engaging, informative, and truly entertaining conversation. So thank you for being on Small and Gutsy. Thank you for having Small and Gutsy as your podcast of choice, because you could go anywhere, and I really appreciate it. But the fact that you're a nonprofit and you're small not only fits my mission to help promote, but it's truly not where I want you to stay as small, but I always want you to be gutsy, because you are. You're cutting edge, you're gutsy. I don't care who the competition is out there. You guys were first. So thank you. I really appreciate the time you gave me.
Looking for everyone should just come to see you at your best place to be. Just go to that one panel. You could leave. I'll allow that. Yeah.
You are
Well, as many
so funny,
people
Mark.
know, Laura is a highly skilled trained therapist in addition to a public policy professor. And when she and I talked about, she goes, "What do I talk about on civility?" And I said, "Laura, please, you've got 200 people there. Let's assume half of them are attorneys. Please, you ought to be able as a therapist to say, typical lawyer mind needs to come out of the battle zone." And so having more people like her, I think, makes the conference not just more humane, but more informative, and there's
thank
something
you.
for everyone there.
Thank you so much.
I think it becomes a little more well-rounded, which is what you want. And having worked with some attorneys, I think it gives me some context too, which is nice. But the two of you are really special. The fact, Mark, that you formed this 12 years ago, Konrad, that you joined forces, and you really have created a special conference. So I encourage everyone to come. And one quick question that I totally forgot, because I think about my podcast going outside of California, which obviously it does. Do you have any ability for someone to pay a smaller amount and get it virtually, or not yet?
Well, we've been talking about that. We haven't, it's in the works what that idea would be. Kind of, again, we've worked with ASU. This is the third year. We feel like once what we're going now, like we'll be able to then expand, but we wanted to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, and that's what this year is doing.
Great.
We have to hit SRO levels, standing room only.
Yeah, but you know what I want to share is that LA is great in the fall. So everyone should just come. They do over the weekend. As you pointed out, flights are cheaper on Thursday, and if you have to fly back Saturday. So I encourage everyone to come, because it is truly a remarkable conference. So
it's 2 weeks before Halloween. So,
right. Right. And you have good food, and you have great food.
Good food, cost goods you can buy.
And parking is very inexpensive.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, yes, depending upon where, but I'll leave that up for,
At the event, right?
Can be.
Right by the ASU, it's the least expensive parking in like all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's actually true if you get there early, because I have parked there before. That is true. So
we need a valet sponsor.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, Konrad, that's your job. Get a valet sponsor. I love it. So anyway, thank you both. This is always fun. I'm so excited to see you both there. And Konrad, I know I owe you an outline. It is forthcoming for my piece of my
Did
session.
I say anything?
No, but I know. I can read your, body language. No, I'm kidding. Anyway.
So let me say one thing though on closing. Everybody on this particular podcast either is a lawyer or has relatives who are lawyers, which makes it an unusual collection here. Clients perceive when we got computers, you're going to be just banging out you'll be going home at 5 o'clock. It's been just the opposite. The workload has increased because clients are saying, well, we can pump more work out the pot, or more production, whatever it is. Now with AI, I'm working longer hours because, as Mark would say, I'm taking in more calls that said, hey, I went on Claude, and Claude says, I'm going, well, ask Claude if it wants to guarantee that outcome. And I imagine as a podcaster, the technology is great for you. You're reaching a larger audience, but along the way, you're having to deal with a lot of the downside of the technology, which is other people's expectations.
Of course. That's why I think this conference is so important. Mark, did you want to add one more thing? No, I totally agree. Did you? Thank you.
I'm agreeing.
When I get a response at 2 a.m. and it's Mark, I'm going, oh my God. Then, of course, you might be saying, how do I know it came in at 2? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, the two
Well,
of you.
this is what I was going to add. I was
Yeah.
going to actually say this. So I've thought about this again, right? Because what they're talking about and getting AI is going to be lowering costs. I have the prediction, and I think this is going to be true, that AI will just create more work, as Andy's saying, more work for lawyers because it lowers costs. So therefore, people can sue more people. Also, smaller firms can actually take larger cases because they have the capability.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We talk about the end of lawyers. Like, it's not going to be the end of lawyers, right?
No.
There always will be.
I think
So
the opposite.
Good news. Thank you for everyone listening to this podcast and getting through everything. And I hope to see you at the event.
Yes, I hope to see everyone there. Thanks, everybody. You guys were terrific.
Bye.
I just wanted to thank you both for being here, sharing so much. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of challenging aspects to the work that TechTainment is doing. And so I just want you to know how much you're appreciated for the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greatly
Much
appreciated.
appreciated. It's to see your organization grow and ours. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for all your support. It's been great. And I'll see you both at the conference. Hopefully one of you will be at my session if you're not in a session of your own. I'm kidding. Okay, take care. Thanks again. Please go to smallandgutsy.org to check out all of our episodes. And if you're so inclined, please purchase some Small and Gutsy merchandise, consider sponsoring an episode, or making a donation. Both are tax deductible and help keep us going and spotlighting these great organizations. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and don't reflect the position or views of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, the donors, the sponsors, and my incredible board of directors, Brianna Carmichael, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Ari McCoy, Melissa Greitz, and Serena Rajabian, who believed in me in this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. Together, we are spreading social impact, and you can help us. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to email me the name of any organization you feel would benefit from being interviewed. From small and gutsy to big with impact. I'm Dr. Laura Scherck Wittcoff, and thanks for listening.